Aspi, thank you for checking out the Zen and the reporting.
Yeah,
That's good.
I can give some feedback. I didn't put things into the tracker yet, but just
No,
a few.
I did a
questions.
few already, so
Oh, yeah.
please add. I mean, you know the
Yeah.
URL. So.
Yeah. Actually, let me go ahead and find that.
It's in the Slack at the top. There's a whole list of things where
Yeah.
bGeigieZen is related.
I see. GitHub files.
Yeah.
Project issues. That one, right?
Yeah. That's the easiest. So you can see the Kanban board where we can add and check things out. Did you check it out, Lewis, too? The Kanban board? Oh, I don't hear you, Lewis. You're muted.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I was muted because the little guy was making a lot of noise.
I see.
I
hope it's not the little guy in your head.
No. He's out of the pool and there's water everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so hang on.
Yeah. Quickly looking at the project's board, it's the to-do, hardware to do, software to do, in progress, but that's not the issues, right? Or is this where I should?
They are the issues organized, so you can move them around and you can add them. They are related to the issues.
Add a few. If I have like UI recommendations, then I should put them here.
Yes, but it's the same. If you make an issue, it shows up there.
Okay.
So.
But anyway, just to double check, if I make an issue, this is just where I actually make an issue here. This is where I file an issue.
You can do it both. You can do in the issues and you can do it in there. There's more organizing of the issues.
Where's the issues? Where's the issues? Let me go.
So the issues are in the project.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Just click on it, then you automatically go to the issues.
All right, I'm looking at the projects one, left-hand column, hardware to do, center column, software to do, right-hand column, in progress.
Correct.
That's what I see.
Yeah.
Issues I see. I can go to the issues panel here. I see.
Yeah.
Got it.
Then I can add. There's a small pencil in the top. You can edit them. You can.
Okay, I'm there as well. I see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. So I will add some things. But just a general feedback. Do you want some general feedback quickly?
Let me see what the priority is. I think priority is being honest, is yellow first, if you don't mind, Aspi.
Go ahead.
Because he's for the software to get going, it's a lot of work, I think. If I see the test that Aspi and Peter did is like the counting is completely off and the CPN high count doesn't work and this kind of things. It's very important, I think, the software. That's okay for you, Aspi? Yeah. Okay.
So wait, what? Sorry, I don't understand. The software that's being tested is the old firmware, I guess.
Yeah, it's for the core too. Yeah, sorry, for the core. Yeah, the older version.
The one that Robin made with the screen and.
Yeah, and a little bit modified, but not that much. Basically, Robin's code.
Right. Yeah, I guess I can add on that if you have any feedback on like the display, like the screen items.
But there are quite important things like the CPM doesn't move if it is more digits, and it doesn't switch to KCPM. It's also not accurate.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
That's most important. It's not accurate. If I put 100 hertz in there, it shows 6074.
Is that so?
Consistent.
Is that well? I don't know. Maybe you can also test it on the other firmware, the one we're working on at the moment?
Yes, I checked it.
Because is that also
Same.
inconsistent
Yeah.
or consistent with
Consistent.
the other version,
Yes.
which is wrong?
Structurally wrong somewhere. And
Okay.
But then we have to check, just to let
right.
you know, it's for me a very important one, because if somebody starts to test it with high count, if it's off, it's no good. I mean,
yeah, I do remember seeing. Let me just go to this sensor. There is a factor. Where did it? Raw computed. There is okay, CPM compensated for that time. Metcom International. There is an additional calculation which has effect on like higher CPM. So maybe it is.
It's made something like that. But
yeah.
the strange thing is the core 2 and the core 1 have different numbers. That I don't understand.
Yeah, I think we do have to test that. I think when I did the test with the Arduino, that Luis made a pulse generator in Arduino or
yeah,
USB.
but that's inside software. I'm calling this from
That's
outside
true.
as a generator. Really
No,
no, this is also
no.
outside.
Yeah,
outside?
no, this is, I was using a separate Arduino to generate pulses, just using the millis and the micros function in Arduino.
Okay.
But we could also, I mean, just for more accurate, we can actually go right down to the actual timer. But I was timing basically basically going by the okay, I've got a young lad just breathing in my ear right now. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I
Okay,
guess
sorry.
okay,
Okay,
go on.
he's gone. So the idea was, I looked at the RC time constants for the 555 timer on the safe pulse as well. Well, on the safe pulse, and basically
there is no 555 timer on the safe pulse.
Oh, okay. Well,
sure.
Where was I? I was looking at somebody's schematic.
Yeah, not ours.
not safe pulse. Okay, then it must have been the one for the iRover.
No,
but
it's also not. There is no 555 timer in there. It's completely independent.
Oh, wait a second. It's a monostable, but it is a monostable. It's not the 555. It's the 74 something or other.
That's correct. Yes.
Yes. So anyway, so monostable. So I was taking the time constant for the capacitor resistor combination and doing a worst case, right? So if the resistor is 5% high and the capacitor is 20% high, then which they are very often, and then so that's the longest pulse, and then the shortest pulse is the opposite, and so that's what we can use as a test bench for that little Arduino setup.
Okay, I didn't know that. So
yeah.
So that should be exactly then. I don't understand it.
It was exact from what I tested. I think I tested with 60,000 pulses per second, per minute.
Per minute?
Yeah, 1,000 per second. So it was 60k CPM, basically.
1,000 a second, that's 1,000 hertz.
Yes.
That should have 60, yeah, the 60k.
It was around 60k, yeah.
Yeah,
and there was this.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Around, it's not 6,000.
No, that's because the extra calculation that was added
for that time. Okay.
For that time, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
If you check the raw, the raw was indeed 60k.
Okay.
It was basically perfect.
Okay, so then no issue for me then.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry for the interruption.
Yeah. I don't know where I can start. I can give an update about the software, which is I'm making progress. As I described last week, I removed the state machine from the controller. The controller is now basically a worker which only checks like if the device is initiated or initialized, and if it's in advanced mode or a simple mode, and if there's an SD card or what the status of the SD card is. And that way we can also handle on-the-go changes. Like if you take out the SD card, it will recognize we're losing SD card. You can even show a screen again, like, oh, you're now without SD card. What do you want to do?
That's a very good.
So things like that. It's I think it makes it a bit easier. And then the screen is now basically a state machine, although it's more like a strategy pattern. So not a exact state machine, but it has some enter, leave functions, as well as handling the data from the sensors and like the API connector, etc. if it's needed. And we can then in one file render the screen for, like, let's say drive mode. Might have like some variations, but that will be in one drive mode CPP file screen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I also copied over some like the settings from the bGeigieCast. Made some small changes in there, as well as the other like API connector, Bluetooth connector. It doesn't compile yet. I'm still working on that. I was like moving a lot around, like with the state machine. Put it back, removed it again. Like I wasn't really sure, but basically it's set on this structure now, and I think it's a lot more organized and easier to find your way.
Well, by the way, I found out we need another option. We need to, in survey mode, we would like to see directly reading out from the buckets. So not as in 60 second efforts in 5 seconds. So that's
yeah, that was already the idea. Lane, sorry, the question would it be per 5 second or like per second?
Yeah, that you can still, maybe you can have free options. 1 second. Some people want to have 1 second. Some people.
Yeah, it could be like a setting. Like if you go to configuration, say like, oh, I want to be survey mode per second changes. Yeah.
Okay.
It is an option. Currently we have 1 second buckets, 60 buckets of 1 second, and we can say, well, last 5 seconds is this, last second was this, and then.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's good.
All right.
I also, I don't know if somebody notices that maybe an idea is to have icons on it, like in the top bar. So, for example, like Aspi couldn't see if the GPS is on and off. So, if you instead of satellite 0, we have a clear red sign that the GPS is off, or not working, or there's no Wi-Fi. There is some option. I think there are fonts for that. I'm not completely sure. I have to check icon fonts or something like that. So we can
I think we did mention this before, like use of more icons because it's easier, of course. I think you did mention that there was some icon pack, and I am almost sure that there is like at least some basic icons available, so we can figure something out.
Okay.
That's good. So Asby, you also had some ideas for screen?
Yeah. So again, the firmware I'm using was made prior to our discussions before talking about the flow of the screens. Is that correct?
Oh, yes.
That's correct. Yes.
So that's not implemented. So I shouldn't expect that. Okay, great. And some of my questions would have to do with that. But a few things I'm a little wondering about. One issue, when I'm charging, I've tried charging it, not with inductive, but just plugging in through the USB-C. And I remember
hold a second. USB-C on the side of the
oh, no, in the bottom, where the inductive plugs in as well. and I can't tell if it's charging or not. The other day at the office when we were trying with the inductive, there was like a little red LED that came on, I believe. I'm not seeing that LED. I'm wondering if maybe my charger is the wrong kind of charger or something, but anyway, I'm not seeing that. And so that's one point.
Okay.
And again, so because this is the older firmware, then the power on sequence is toggle switch, then M5 power, right? We need to do that on this particular firmware, correct?
On this version, yes.
Got it. Okay, that answers that. The last, I say, kind of big issue I had is GPS.
I saw that.
I'm saying again, maybe it's a firmware implementation issue that it's always showing GPS 0.
No.
Although it's because I'll keep it, use it for 30 minutes or an hour, and I'll turn it on and I'll look for a while. I've never seen the GPS anything but 0. But I put it in my bag. I get home. I found the files. Thank you. And last night I did it again, and I had a file for, the very end of the whole session of trying, and the GPS was again very, very off. So I'm not sure if we're seeing that issue elsewhere or not. I haven't heard from Peter yet about it, so I'm wondering. Anyway, it's something we need to look at. Okay.
Oh yeah, sure. It's a very important issue because I've been testing them for maybe half a year, and they seem to work fine. I mean, my experience is they're a little bit better than the Nano. Pick up more satellites.
Yeah, that's what you said. So I'll keep using it. I've only used it a couple of times, but I'll keep using it and see. I will try to just keep it outside in a good open place and see if it is catching satellites or how long it's staying. But basically, it's supposed to be implemented, right? In this firmware. Okay. Other suggestions, have to do with very clear feedback of the status, like you mentioned, and like we mentioned, is GPS locked? Is it ready to record or not ready? Is GPS on or off? And in a way, I think that status is more important than the number of satellites.
I completely agree.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's just some things like that.
So that information is just kind of for troubleshooting from the beginning to see what's going on. That was the reason why it's there.
Yeah. And then in terms of hardware, and we discussed the other day with Peter regarding the sensor, etc. I kind of feel like, I know we want to keep it simple, but maybe it needs one more plastic component of some sort to hold the sensor, to keep it from sliding in these directions, and then something, a standoff or something to keep the board clearly flat inside the yellow lining. Just something, maybe one component could do that. And I see that you put a little cover on the safe pulse as well. Maybe there's one component that does all those jobs,
I was thinking about the 3D model, but it has to be scalable.
Initially, I was thinking a 3D printed sort of cylindrical sleeve that also holds the sensor down. Could have some kind of simple clip or something, and then wraps around and protects the cable, the connection, and then the safe pulse, and then holds it up stable in the case. I can imagine this sort of weird component that could do
two components probably. They will fit together and then it's easier.
Two maybe. But then the question is, 3D printing is probably not going to be feasible for lots of components.
No. But we can figure out something.
Remember how we did the laser cut shields for the Nano? Laser cut part could very well work. So anyway, just think about that, I guess. Also, should we have a hole for the sensor in the rubber lining like we do in the Nano?
I talked with Peter about it, and Peter said it doesn't make any difference for the measurements, because if you want to measure alpha, it doesn't work in the case at all. it's not correct if it's in
Right,
English.
right,
So
right.
if you want to take it out, you have to take it out. So gamma goes through it, beta goes through it. It's fine.
No, actually, this is a beta shield. This actually functions as a beta shield, this polycarbonate, right? So, yeah, that's just one kind of, I was just wondering about that. We'd see, if and when Joe gets a unit to test, he'll have his own, comments on that
yes,
too.
his list.
As you know, regarding the linearity of the counts at a high rate, that the nano also flattened out. You understand that it had a strain
and then come back.
Very particular response curve. So it was never really accurate at the very high. I'm thinking it was something like above 100 microsieverts or something like that. So there's very likely always going to be an issue like that, because it's not a compensated tube is one reason.
Yes.
So I think we should keep beyond that. And then finally, Peter sent his pictures of the tests of the safe pulse and the iRover, etc. Do you happen to know what source he was using?
No, but he quite good, quite high source. That was good to see.
I asked him, but so we'll see. Yeah, very good. But this this sort of thing we have to figure out, what's going on there. Okay.
But
that's kind of
this is the safe pulse issue, and then I'm discussing with Peter how to solve it and to think about it.
Yeah. But even with using the iRover on the Zen, it's also very, very different from the. It's showing 3,400 CPM, whereas on the bGeigieZen Nano it was showing 2,000 CPM. Right.
Yeah.
So even with the iRover, it's very, very different. So
but the iRover and the non-modified safe pulse is correct. They are very close. Did you see that number 3 and 4?
Okay, let me see. So number
3, Peter calls them 3. Number 3 on this.
Number 3 is iRover in the Zen, which is giving 3,400 CPM.
No, look at the microsievers. CPM, I wouldn't trust the microsievers.
Oh, not CPM. Okay, so it's giving 1,000, and then then that is. I mean, shouldn't we want the CPM to be similar? But the bGeigieZen was giving 600 microsieverts. And then
the issue, yeah.
So I'm not. Let me see which one. Okay,
wasn't there a bug in the Nano?
Yeah,
but that's fixed in 2021 by Ray. So the Nano, I would trust.
You guys can maybe discuss this with Peter, I suppose. But okay, so I see number 4 is giving 1,000 CPM, 1,000 microsieverts. The other one's giving 1,000 microsieverts, but very different. I'll say, so anyway.
The CPM is different, completely different. That's the display. So I wouldn't worry about that at the moment, the CPM.
Is the CPM the display?
The CPM is quite similar, right? It's like 3,400.
No, but they're very different from the Nano. It should be identical performance to the Nano. So using the Nano as the baseline, because that's been pretty well tested. So
that's my
whatever source you had that's showing 600 and 600 microsieverts per hour and 2,000 CPM, that it should be similar.
Should be similar. Yes, I completely agree. Yes, it's way too high.
Because Nano is basically the baseline, and so the question is, why is this different? So discuss that with Peter. I'm sure will have response whenever you can get him.
When he responds, is not getting him, but when he responds, that's correct.
Yeah. So
okay, well, thank you for the feedback. That's very important.
Yeah.
And Louis had something too, or you're listening still?
Yeah, I'm still here. Just
Okay.
really not much to report from my side. The only thing I did is we had a question as to whether the little file system could handle file names larger than the 8.3, and yeah, no problem. I just sort of blasted a big file name right across the screen, and there's no just right across the screen, no problem. And there's no crash or anything like that. And I just kept hammering to it. I've got a separate little GitHub thing if you want to play around with it. So from that point of view, I think we can treat it as like a Windows, Microsoft FAT32 with the large file names. Did a little bit of digging into it. Apparently it's quite a bit of a hack that they basically stuff a little hidden file in each directory to handle the long file names, and then there's a little algorithm to take the long file name and turn it into an 8.3 for legacy software. So anyway, it seems to be solid. So from that point of view, I'm happy.
That's good. One question about it, that if we switch off the Zen, and it's writing to the SD card, is that kind of protected, or can the file be corrupted? Because in the Nano we have that. If you're writing at the same time and you're switching it off, the SD card can be corrupted, and that's very inconvenient. I think it's a matter from the open lock. It's not a matter from the bGeigieZen Nano itself.
Yeah. Well, excuse me. I think the trick there is just to make sure that that window of vulnerability is as short as possible. So open the file, write the record, close the file immediately, and so just to minimize the chance that a power down will happen. I'm just is there? I mean, we can later on look at the battery percentage, and if the battery percentage is very low, at some point we just have to decide that we're not going to log anymore, and give the user like a big nice clear display saying low battery, logging stopped, or something, like flash or something like that, just to make sure that and then shut down that non-volatile storage and the SD card. I'm not too sure how to do that, like to put it into like basically unmounted mode. So at this point, that's just thinking out loud here.
No, that's a good idea. Although currently for the Core 1, the battery percentage, well, we use the API from the M5 library, which only gives 0, 25, 50. It's like we can't really turn it off at 25 because it's not even that good. But yeah, we can do. Of course, we can use the battery percentage to disable the handler, like the logger handler, as well as like making the window as short as possible. I was thinking we can make multiple handlers, like one for the journal log and a different one for, let's say, drive log.
That makes sense.
So these two, you can just turn. The journal log would then always be on if there's an SD card, for example. And then in drive mode screen, if you say start logging, what it does, it's actually enabling the other log handler. And that way, if the journal handles the data, it can write and close again. And then the drive one handles the data and opens the SD as well, writes the line and closes it again. So I think in that way we keep it as short as possible as well. So that's.
We have to make sure that both are not writing at the same time, some sort of a neutral lock.
Yeah, that's impossible. It's still like a pipeline. So one handler ends it first, and then the second one ends it.
Okay.
So that's no problem, luckily.
We have
right.
other important issues because in 6 minutes, I think our session will end. What's the next step we want to do? I think. Or what we can work on.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, yeah, I should just be finishing up the changes I've been working on, so that we can actually divide some work and pick up the implementation of specific handlers or like SD writer. Although, like with these small prototypes that we've been making, we could just copy paste some code and change it up. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe perhaps, Lewis, if you want to continue with the SD card testing things, maybe we can think of some protocol for file naming. I was thinking something in direction of like a log file, because we have a lot of space as in the file name. I think it's nice to have like the log file will show when it started logging, and then we can add more to the name, like also upload it on with some
That's useful.
data, so that if
In
you
the file
even
name.
read the SD card on your computer, you can see, oh, this one has already been uploaded through the Zen, for example. So I think maybe
is there an email file system that uses that? It's like the Dan Bernstein's email, something like that. Their mail folder, Mailder. So anyway,
I don't know.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It generates file names that are kind of like this.
Oh,
so,
right.
Yeah, it has to be quite simple too.
Yeah.
And
So okay.
Yeah,
I'll have a look at that. I have some time this week, so if you think of something, just send me something. So
true. And if
Yeah, sure.
I was thinking also that can we make the date on the file stamp correct, because that's always a problem with the nano. Can we have a real-time clock pick up the time and then compare it with the GPS to see if that's correct, and then it uses that as a timestamp?
Oh, right. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, if we start logging right away, or if we start logging and we don't have a GPS connection, for example.
Yeah.
Well, we can start journaling for sure.
Yes.
But not logging something that's worthy of going into the database. But certainly we can record the fact that yes, that information is available. But again, some flag to say this is approximate time, because you don't know if the thing has been, if the battery got pulled out or whatever.
That's true.
So, but is there? I didn't realize there was a real-time clock in the device.
I have to check on I think there were options. I'm not sure about the M5 stack.
Yeah, or maybe it's in that little in that little cover.
In the core too. Yeah, there we took out.
In the core too. Yeah. Perhaps everything's in there. If you remove it, you lose it.
You remove it, then there's your motion sensor, there's your sound, there's everything. So okay, so I'll have a look at that, the real-time clock and file naming.
Okay, that would be great. I will look
into it would be nice if we can use the real-time clock for the file naming.
Yes, I think so.
Perhaps updating it with the GPS, but then we won't have to lock on the GPS first. That would be great.
Yeah, good idea.
Can do that if it's accurate.
Yeah.
And I will have a look at the icons, fonts, and things like that, so we can. Work on that. I like to do that. So.
All right.
And Aspi has more comment because we can only in a few minutes, 1 minute. Huh?
Good for now.
Okay. Okay, everybody, thanks for joining.
Yes.
It's good. And I hope next time Peter can be there too, because that will be very helpful to have feedback from him. But it's hard to get him. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, right. One thing, I can't make it for next week. I'll be out camping, so.
Oh, that's good for you.
Next week. Although we could do it on like a Sunday, but that's like Sunday evening for me.
Okay,
Like,
that's
move it one
also
day.
good to me. Yes, so Monday
that's fine.
morning to me. Yeah,
That's fine
let's
by
do
me.
that. Yeah, I prefer every week if it's possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Good.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll do that then.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
just the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice day,
Good.
everyone.
You too.
Bye,
Take care.
everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Sleep well. Yeah.
Thank you.